Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to another episode of the No Fluff MSP Marketing Podcast. Today is a day of reflection, I guess. I wanted to, as I've officially left All Tech Services, I've really been thinking back on my time as a marketing intern to marketing coordinator to manager to vice president of business development, and what were some key lessons that I learned along the way that I can kind of shed today? This is probably going to be a part 1, part 2, potentially even part 3, because I'm constantly thinking of more lessons, and I just kind of want this to be its own little series as to what are some of the, I would say, most impactful things that I could give to you as you are either starting your own journey as a marketing person, or you are running the marketing and sales account management, and you need guidance on how do you manage people better, etc. So that's what I was kind of hoping we could cover today. On a side note, we are officially moved into our new office in downtown Lakeland, which we are absolutely loving. There is a YouTube video on our YouTube about a little office tour. If you want to check it out, you can actually see this podcast room that we're filming in right now. So thank you to everybody who is a member that have allowed us to get this new office, and it's just helping us grow. We've added a 4th employee. It's been surreal, and it's because of you listeners and everybody engaged with MSP Camp. We will not abuse that trust that you guys have in us, and we just really appreciate it a lot. All right, let's dive right in. I would say one and probably one of the most, or if not the most important thing, like the first two are extremely important. I wanted to start there. And that is hire help as quickly as you possibly can. I went so long without hiring help. And for me, it actually wasn't a budget thing. I just personally wanted to provide the maximum amount of value as I could. So I was just like, I can do the marketing and I can do the sales and I can do the account management. So I put it all on my plate because I wanted to be valuable. And what it did was made me significantly less valuable. And every single time I've made a good hire, I want to put an asterisk there, good hire, it's made my life better and it's made us significantly more revenue. And we're actually going to get into a specific task here, or a specific point on how do I know if it's a good hire or not. Reading the book Who Not How and Buying Back Your Time, like if you read these two books, Who Not How and Buying Back Your Time, you'll really understand this a lot. I mean, obviously you have employees, whether you're the marketing person that has coordinators or you're the owner who has marketing people, etc. Like you understand the value of having employees, but being able to hire people for specific tasks, like in my case, the first hire I made was account management, and having Colin take account stuff off of my plate and let me sell and market the business, we skyrocketed since that happened. And then again, when I added Steven on to take some of the marketing off my plate, cool, not only were we growing All Tech faster, I was able to start a whole nother business. If it was just me and I didn't have Colin and I didn't have Steven and eventually Maddie and eventually Deja, like there is zero chance I'd be able to be where I'm at. And so that's why number 1 is so important. Hire help as quickly as you can. I see MSP owners that are still doing their 1-person shop. You got to stop that. We have to get out of that as quickly as we possibly can. Now, honestly, I don't think a lot of the listeners or most listeners are in that situation, but if you're that, and you're a 1-person shop, maybe it's because you don't have the revenue to hire somebody. I get that. But I hear some people say like they don't want to manage people. You got to get over that. Like you have to. You're going to make some shitty hires every now and then. I did. My first account manager, she was not good. And I held on way too long. And then she ended up leaving. Like I didn't even fire her, right? She ended up leaving. And then I got an account manager, skyrocketed, right? You're going to make a bad hire every now and then. You're going to have to go through some pains of learning how to manage people. But when you do get good people and you get better at management, it is thebomb.com. It is seriously awesome. It makes our life a lot better. All right, let's move on. Number 2. This is specifically for the marketing people out there, and I guess some sales people too, and owners that are doing marketing. Freelance over agency. when I had marketing agencies, it was like I wanted to do something like, hey, we need to create this landing page, or I need some remarketing ads going on Google and Instagram. And it was like pulling teeth. It was like pulling teeth because a lot of times agencies are generalists. They have really good general knowledge of all these different facets, but they're not specialists usually in any one area. And I think that's the beauty of freelancers, because you can get on a site like Upwork and you can say, I'm looking for the absolute best person for Facebook ads, which is exactly what I did in one situation. I'm looking for the absolute best person to create a membership website. Another thing I did, right? By finding the person that specializes in that one core competency that you're looking for, it significantly improves your marketing, and it happens fast. Speed is important. Because when you're paying somebody $100 an hour, they really want to keep you on as a client, and they work fast. Whereas if you pay your marketing agency $3,000 a month, every request you have from them costs them a little more money. So they are literally incentivized not to move too quickly. So if there's any point, these 2 points are extremely important. Get in-house help as soon as possible, whether that's the account management, a marketing person, or a tech person. Take that off your plate. Super important. But in addition, once you have somebody in-house, now you don't need an agency. If you could spend $3,000 on freelancers, holy crap, the return you get on that versus $3,000 with an agency that's going to like post blogs, make your website look good, and post on your social media. All right. So yeah, the key there is specialists. So if your strategy involves remarketing ads on Facebook, cool. Get the person that can set up conversion tracking properly on your website. Like people ask me all the time, well, how do I do remarketing ads? How do I do remarketing ads? I'm like, honestly, I don't even know that well, right? I know how to do it. I run the ads, but what I do is I jump on Upwork. I find the absolute best person to set up my ads manager and my business manager, get it all right. I pay them $100 an hour. It only takes them 5 or 6 hours. Good to go. Now I can run the ads. That's the part I like. So at the end of the day, instead of wondering how we do things or spending 50 hours trying to figure out a CRM, just hire the person that's an expert in the CRM that you're going for. Just do that. Like an example here real quick on the MSP side of things, we moved from ConnectWise to Autotask. We were going to do it ourselves, and then Tom was like, no, wait a minute. This is a beast. So he spent like a ridiculous amount of money, like, I don't know, a lot of money to get a lady on that specializes in moving people from ConnectWise to Autotask. Yeah, it was a lot of money, but our life was so much easier. It was done so much better. No hiccups with clients. We were making more money. She literally like paid for herself, and us not having to beat our heads against the wall to try and figure it out ourselves. So again, freelancer over agency for many of the reasons I explained. I know there's a lot there. You might have to go back because I was talking kind of fast, but that is a key lesson that I've learned over the years. All right, moving on. This is part 1. Don't worry. I'm not going to throw too many at you, right? Because there's a lot to digest here. But number 3, it takes longer than you think. And that's a bummer because it's just the reality of MSP marketing. Like I remember I would get so hyped about starting Bing AdWords, Bing AdWords, like Bing pay-per-click and Google AdWords and all these different initiatives that I was like so stoked about. I learned a bunch about it. I launched the campaign and it was just like slow. Like it didn't perform amazingly well. We would get a couple leads. Oftentimes I would quit doing that thing and say it doesn't work. Like it's just the reality of MSP marketing. We have to keep so many balls moving all the time because they do pay off at different times. SEO is paying off at this time. Those direct mail postcards and follow-up calls are working at this time. The remarketing Facebook ads are working at this time. It takes time and it takes patience and it takes investment. And that's why I always recommend having somebody in-house doing this, because if it's up to the owner or if it's up to the head salesperson to keep these things moving, they're going to get busy with sales meetings or they're going to get busy with whatever, tech stack, etc. And they're not going to keep the balls rolling. A common, what's the word for it? Like a common, I cannot believe I can't think of this right now. denominator, I guess, between all the MSPs that are succeeding in marketing is they have an in-house marketing person, coordinator, or manager. And the reason I kind of say this again here on the third point, even though it kind of was rehashed in the second points, is that you have to keep the ball going down the field. And if it's up to the owner, salesperson, etc., it's going to get dropped. All right, moving on. Number 4, stand the F out. You got to stand out, especially in the world of IT where it can be dense and not very exciting. You have to be willing and able to stand out in your market. Go back to listen to the episode with Simon Moore. That was great. Go back and listen to the episode with Hunter, who literally gave away a $100,000 Corvette in a big event. And now he's got another one coming up. Like, everybody in his market knows him. He's got like publicity in his market because he stood out so far. One of the greatest branding things we did at Alltech is a custom calendar of text. You know how they would do like the fireman calendars where they're, the guys with the abs and stuff? Well, we did it where the techs could choose whatever nerdy thing they wanted to do, and we were going to Photoshop them into that. So we did Star Wars ones where I was Leia. And all the other tech guys were all the cool people. And like we did Lion King, like we did all these different enactments of movies and we put it into a calendar. And when we sent that out, the clients were so obsessed with it, they asked every year if we were going to do it, right? Again, and they still today, we have some hanging up in clients' offices, right? And that was like 2 years ago. So being able to think so far outside the box and then having the courage to say, yeah, let's do it, right? Like, yeah, let's give away a Tesla. Or yeah, let's do a giant event that's so out there and crazy, we get the mayor to show up, right? So standing out is so important in a world full of boring. And I always do this, rant about business consumer doing marketing significantly better than business because it's just true. They do. Like, Geico would not be where they're at today if it wasn't for the freaking gecko. B2B does not have to be boring to boring. Like, go look at the IT glue video, like the OG ones where the guy gets hit by the car. Like, it was so funny. Or go look at Wasabi's video on Migrate with Nate. They're so funny and they're so engaging. Those videos did not hurt the brand, the massive brand of IT glue. It did not hurt the massive brand of Wasabi. It created engagement and got people more bought into the brand. So we can do that. If other business to business can be out there and funny and entertaining, we can too as an IT company. Sure, when you're in the sales meetings, you're professional, you're not cracking jokes all the time, your sales letters don't have pictures of crazy things on it, but maybe they do, right? So standing out is just so important because so few IT companies stand out. So few. Go listen to the episode with Mike from Techie Geeks. His entire brand is superheroes. He's going so hard on it, and it's wonderful. His van looks like a freaking superhero van, and it's working beautifully for them. So stand out, stand out, stand out. Why did we do MSP Camp? Why are we camp themed? Because it stands out more than MSP Content Machine or some stupid shit I was going to name it originally, right? You got to stand out. You got to brand. You got to themify. You got to do something that makes it stick in their mind. All right, moving on. And that one's hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying this. It's hard to do that as an MSP, but you just got to do it. All right. The next three are actually really quick. So we're coming up on the end here. I have made a couple hires that were bad, and that's going to happen no matter what, no matter how many interview questions you do, no matter how many personality tests you do, you're going to have bad hires. And that obviously should not prevent us from hiring people. But we also need to cut the bleeding quickly, which is something I've seriously struggled with because I'm just generally like a nice person. So it's very difficult for me to make tough decisions like that. And usually I just wait until they leave. But the one indicator I've seen for success in hiring people and how quick is basically when you give them a task, if you have a meeting with them or whatever, and you give them a task, how quickly do they get that thing done? I know that's like oversimplification of somebody's competency because maybe like really like skilled people just like to take time on tasks, for sure, it should not be the only criteria. But if you're on the fence of understanding whether it's you or them or the process, think about that. Just start identifying, like, how long, when I give them a task, do they get it done? Because pretty much everyone on my team right now, when I give them a task, that same day it is done, and I'm getting an update. Whereas with other people that I was not very strong with or didn't feel very good about, it would sometimes definitely not get done that day, sometimes never at all. And if a task is never done at all after you ask, that's a really bad sign. And it might be a good indicator that you have the wrong person in place. And this is kind of more to the owners, right? And if you're the marketing coordinator, think about that too. Like, sometimes your boss may not understand how to gauge your effectiveness, because sometimes it's not always about leads, right? Marketing is so much more than generating leads. That's just the reality, especially in the MSP space. So the things you can control really well, you need to be good at. And speed to respond to your manager or the owner of the company is highly important. And to the owner who's wondering whether you made a bad hire of a marketing coordinator or manager, there's lots and lots of success criteria. But that's the one, for some reason, that is a recurring theme. It's how quickly do they get that task done with an update, right? All right, moving on. I hope that one was helpful. May not. You might be like, no, there's no way I'm going to gauge somebody's entire, employment off of that, which I get. But if like, ceteris paribus, all things considered, all things even, maybe that would be the point that we want to look at, is how fast do we get those tasks done. All right, moving on. Two things left of part one. This one is talking more to the vice president of business development or the owner, kind of the higher level people in the organization. You don't get to not know what's going on with your marketing. You don't get to not know, right? I think a lot, and this happens all the time. So I'm talking to you if this is you. You don't get to say, I don't really understand marketing, so you don't know what you should do next, or you don't know what your marketing team is doing, or you don't know what your agencies are doing. That is not an excuse. You can't do that, right? A specific example, I was talking to an MSP. He said he spends $3,000 a month on SEO. And I was like, well, that's one. I'm actually happy to hear that, because if someone's charging $3,000 a month for SEO, they're probably a pretty legit company. But then I was like, well, what are they doing? He's like, well, they're trying to get me to rank for this one city keyword. I'm like, they're trying to get you ranked for this one city keyword. Are you ranked for that? They said no. And I was like, okay. Have they gotten you any closer to front page? He said no. I was like, all right. What other keywords are you going after? And he's like, not really sure. The website didn't look that great. There wasn't a lot of fresh content getting put on it. And I was like, okay, cool. You're wasting $3,000 a month. And it's not even the SEO company's fault. They think they're doing great work, right? They haven't had any complaints from the client. They are posting a blog a month, whatever. It is our duty as the owner, the manager, whatever, to have a good understanding of the marketing strategy that you're putting in place, and having a good understanding of what your agencies or your freelancers or your coordinators are doing. Just like how our clients, the MSP client, they can't close their ears and say, la, 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 I don't want to hear about cybersecurity or IT. It's like, well, get over it. Because we have to make big decisions about what servers you're going to do. We have to make big decisions about cybersecurity. We have to make big decisions about rolling out MFA. You're going to have to know about your IT and your cybersecurity, period. And the clients that don't, or they close their ears to it, are the worst clients. And they get fired, or they complain about the bills, or whatever. So just like that, we must understand what is going on with the marketing of our MSP. We must push ideas forward. We must be a champion for budget and everything else. We don't get to close our ears and say, I don't really know what's going on with the marketing. And that goes to all levels of MSP size. All right. I hope that made sense. Number 7. This one's actually on the sales side of things. And I've said this one a couple times on the podcast, but it's really true. There's a million sales tips. There's a million sales advice. There's a million sales approaches. I'm not the greatest sales trainer in the world, right? But as the guy who's been in hundreds of sales meetings, the thing that just seemed to work well for me is when I went into the sales meeting, I went in as if I was on the team. I went in as if I was a true consultant for that company. My job was not to sell them all tech services. My job was to listen to their technology problems, listen to their true operational challenges, like ask a shitload of questions because I need to know like what are the true problems and what solutions would I put in place? Because when you're in that sales meeting and they feel like you are an extension of their team and you truly have their best interest in mind and you are like in the meeting giving recommendations of true solutions that could help their business rather than just like, oh yeah, I'll provide a quote, or like, oh yeah, I'll get back and my network engineer will send, we'll come on site and install like an agent or whatever. It's like, no. I am an IT, pretty good at IT and I can sit down with you as a consultant and understand what your problems are and understand some potential solutions for you to where they feel like you are bought in to their problems. You are bought into their company and you are an extension of their team. When you make them feel that way, it's very hard for them to let you go. Like, it's just what I started to realize over the years. It's like, I come in, I talk to them. I'm not even really selling the company. I'm just trying to get to what they need and help them get there. And like when that happens, they build that trust with you. It just clicks. I'm like anti-salesy. Like I don't really even talk about all tech. I talk about them. I talk about the solutions we can put in place. And I only talk about the solutions they need to hear about in the meeting. I remember there was like this one company, they met with like 5 different MSPs. And at the end of it, they were just so stoked. We had such a great conversation. They really felt good about things. And they go, do you guys not do phone systems? And I was like, yeah, we do phone systems. Why? Does your phone system not work right now? And they go, no, our phone system is completely fine. But every single IT company that has come in before you has talked about replacing our phone system. And I was the one guy that didn't bring up the phone system at all because that was not on the client's mind. They didn't give a shit about the phone system. It was working. So why distract from what they care about with things we care about? So again, I know that one's not super concrete, but if there's anything I can say from a lesson on the sales side of things, it's that when you go in as truly like for instance, pretend you're on the leadership board, like you're on the leadership meeting, and this is a leadership meeting around IT, and you are the IT advocate of the organization. That's the way we got to treat sales meetings a lot of times. And it's worked really well for me. I saw my close ratio continue to go up even as the deals got bigger and even as I got more competition in my area. So I hope that makes sense. I hope there was some value and help there. So those are the 7 lessons of part 1 from being the vice president of a managed service provider for many years. We will very likely have a part 2 because literally I've already been thinking of more today after I already wrote this the other day. So it's probably going to be a part 2 and eventually a part 3. I hope it was helpful. Please, I don't usually ask for comments on these podcasts, but there's a little comment section in the podcast area. Oh, and the video if you're watching the video. So if you could just let me know, like, hey, like this point, didn't like that point, you rambled here, give me some feedback because I can definitely do more of these or less of these. Just let me know. Usually we like to stick to one specific topic and, elaborate, but I also really enjoy doing these types of videos and podcasts. So thanks again so much for listening to the podcast. We just greatly appreciate your support. We are so grateful to be in this awesome new office and having a dedicated podcast room for the first time. And we will see you on the next one.